Blue lips. Blue lips.
What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of EastKnows. I'm East, and today I know all about UFC 229. UFC 229 is projected to be the biggest UFC event ever for pay-per-views, and I wouldn't be a true combat sports fan if I didn't cover it. I will be honest though, I was waiting until today to drop the video. The reason is I didn't know if the fight was going to happen. In the UFC, a lot of times we've seen day of the fight, day of weigh-ins, right after weigh-ins, things that happen. And as of now, the fight still could be canceled. But after seeing the press conference between Khabib and Conor today, Khabib looked like he was going to make weight, and I think this fight is just too important for both of them. I think they'll both end up showing up. So the reason this fight is so intriguing is because you have Khabib versus Conor McGregor, and it's a fight that is very unpredictable. The fight will be fun because of the controversy and the drama that happened between these two. You had the bus incident where Conor threw a dolly at the bus, broke glass. He hurt a lot of people doing this. And then you have Khabib, who's very stoic, if you will. He's very quiet, all about his business. When he talks very brash, and he talks very defiantly. He lets you know that he's not scared and that he's never going to back down. He has a true belief in himself that he can beat any man on the planet. And for the most part, 26-0, he's proven it. Conor and Khabib had drama from their teammate. I've covered this in another video, and basically it just has a spiral. These two have kind of been on a collision course throughout their careers at this point, but because of the drama with with Conor's teammate Artem, who is also Russian like Khabib, who Khabib grabbed by the back of the neck and kind of gave a little smack to, everything has went out of control.
Artyom, I give you slap. What happened now? For you, this one for Conor.
Conor had a lawsuit issue, and it's just a lot of out of the ring drama before these two were even scheduled to fight each other. You also have the aspect that this is Russia versus Ireland. It's a big fight. You have two of these very strong, opinionated, defiant, rebellious types of nationalities who come from very deep fight cultures and fighting backgrounds, and they want to really represent their countries in this fight. So a lot of clash, a lot of differences between these two. It makes for a very fun and intriguing personality and characteristical matchup, if you will. Why is this fight more fun? A few things make this fight really fun and very intriguing. The first great thing about this fight is both guys are around the same age. They're around the same height and size, and they're both just in their prime. They're both young and they're both ready to fight. They're both very hungry for this fight. That's always exciting when you can get the fights and they happen at the right time. Another thing that's going to be fun about this fight is that it's very unpredictable. I'll go through a breakdown or analysis of the two styles and the different aspects of their fighting abilities, but no one can actually put their finger on, okay, this will definitely happen and it's set in stone, because they both offer so many different things and there's so many different aspects to this fight. Lastly, the fight is very important. The reason the fight is so important is because we haven't seen Conor in the ring for 2 years. He's held up the weight division, and the weight division just kind of got some composure back to itself, if you will, by the fact that Khabib beat Al Alaquinta for the belt. This is the lightweight 155-pound belt that we're speaking about. So it's a very important fight because now we know who the true champion is by this fight. This fight really determines who the true champion is, mentally and physically. Physically, yes, it was Khabib because he was in competition. Conor was stripped of the belt. But now there's no questions. We get that clash that we wanted, and everyone gets their answer. Another reason why the fight is so important is because the rest of the division. You have Tony Ferguson and Anthony Pettis fighting on the same card. It's a very big fight as well, and I'm willing to bet that this fight could be the title contention fight. So whoever wins out of Conor and Khabib, depending on how that goes, I don't want to speak too fast because maybe Conor loses and he wants a rematch and he'll probably get it. So don't quote this, but we could see Ferguson and Pettis fight, and the winner of that may be up next for the championship fight against whoever wins out of Conor and Khabib. You also have a fight in the future. No one knows if this fight will come to fruition or not, but you have Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier. They're both in the same weight class as well. If Nate Diaz wins, then you get the rubber match from him and Conor's rivalry. If Dustin Poirier wins, he kind of deserves a title fight as well because of his resume. And then Tony Ferguson was stripped of the belt due to injury, so he's kind of justified in getting a fight as well. Anthony Pettis, maybe he needs a win or two to get it, but I mean, this win could do it. Technically, he'd be beating the last champion or interim champion at 155. So there's a lot of questions, but this fight at least gives us a starting point to say, okay, what's next for everyone else, the next 5 guys. So let's start with the fun thing about this fight. The fun thing for everyone else outside of just the fight itself are the mental things, and these translate into the fight as well. It all starts with Conor's antics versus Khabib's composure. Conor, he's the master at this point of mental warfare. He digs up information, he researches his opponents, and he says the exact perfect thing to really get underneath these people's skins. We've seen it with Dustin Poirier, who recently admitted that Conor got underneath his skin and he didn't realize it until after everything was said and done. And he contributes that to some of his loss. Same thing with Jose Aldo. He didn't admit it, but a lot of people speculate that maybe that was a big reason why he charged in a little more than he's used to so early in the fight. And so he really probably just wanted that knockout. Same thing for Khabib. He really needs to watch out for how he goes into this fight mentally. He's a very strong-willed person and he carries a lot of pride. Because of this factor, he said that he wouldn't even shake Conor's hand during the press conference.
Win or lose, will you shake Conor's hand after the fight?
I'm gonna shake his hand.
After the fight, win or lose,
No.
will you?
No way. No way.
And done. Most fighters who say a lot of things, like for instance Conor versus Nate Diaz, they had a lot of things to say to each other, but bloodied and battered, they both went to each other, they embraced, and they respected each other as fighters. So for Khabib to say, no, I will not shake his hand after the fight, is a big statement that says that he's a little upset. And you know, it's understandable. Conor has said things about his father. He said things about his team. He said things about his country. He's throwing some little jabs at Khabib's religion. I mean, it's a lot of things that Conor has really done and said that has made Khabib probably a little upset. So, yeah, it's something to keep an eye on. How will Khabib come in? The thing is, he needs to stay composed. He needs to come in and fight his game plan, and he needs to just do what he needs to do to win. If he comes in and he tries to fight Conor's game to prove a point or to just establish himself in a different way, I believe that will be his undoing. Khabib is the type of person that he wants to come into the ring and prove a point. He said that he will maul Conor and he will talk to him, showing that he doesn't have a mentality that maybe he wants to finish Conor. He wants to really go in and punish him, if you will. And maybe this works for him and he does exactly what he does, or maybe this works against him because he, you know, it's almost considered playing around a little bit, and that could really get him hurt in this fight.
If you talk about he go inside my head, we're gonna see Saturday night. We're gonna see this.
Conor even shows up to press conferences late because he knows how people are. Khabib's one of those guys. He's religious. He's very morally sound. You know, he's very set in his ways. He's a very prideful man, like I said, and he's just very punctual. He's that type of guy. So he's gonna be on time, this and that. And Conor's been late to every press conference. And so Khabib in the press conference today said he's not waiting. Let's start the press conference. I'm not waiting another minute. We'll do it now. And then when he gets here, it doesn't matter what happens. But he's not playing into these games. He's saying that he needs to stay composed. So this mental warfare, you see just a lot of the little things that Conor does. I mean, he does every little thing to really annoy these guys. And it's going to be interesting because Khabib, he is very cold though. So you can see that he is very ready for these things. He said he knew that it was going to be like this, and he said that it is his job to go into the ring and stay composed, and maybe he'll be angry and it works for him, or maybe he'll stay calm and it works for him. So he kind of already knows what he wants to do mentally, I think. So it's not overall just, yes, Conor has definitely gotten to this man's head. It's just that because you have to adjust for what Conor does mentally is why I say Conor has won the mental war game for this.
Not true. A little bit, of course. I'm angry, a little bit emotional, but my job when I go to the cage, I have to control my emotional. I have to stay relaxed, but keep going and maul this guy. Does the anger help you? Sometimes this happens. Sometimes this help you. Sometimes it's not. But most important, stay relaxed when you go to the cage. This is most important.
Let's get to the physical stuff. Striking. Striking goes to Conor. When it comes to the striking aspect, Khabib isn't a bad striker. It's just that he's not the most clean or sharp. He has decent power, but he hasn't proven to have a true knockout power. Also, he's a little bit more wide with his punches. He likes to throw the hooks, and he throws them from unorthodox angles. So that's always good, especially when it complements his wrestling skills so well. However, the reason we have to give Conor the advantage in striking is because, one, his precision. Conor might not even have the greatest power, to be honest, but he has knocked a lot of guys out or knocked them down, and mainly it's because of his precision. His power is complemented by the preciseness to hit guys in their temple or right on the jawline, and it makes it so that they have a hard night when they do get hit by Conor's sniper left hand. When they get hit, you see them dazed, you see them go wobbly, and it's like, whoa, what's going on? I can't control my body, more so than the fact that they're just knocked out unconscious. Conor's also very fast, and he has a natural instinct to dodge, showing that he is just a true striker. Complemented by his great kicks, his capoeira kicks, his karate or taekwondo style kicks. Conor is just, he's a very good striker. Whereas Khabib, you'll see him throw some flying knees sometimes and like these hooks, but it's just stuff that, I mean, it's good that it complements his wrestling, his stance changes, his ability to change levels. But when it just comes to this standing in front of a guy and throwing punches and kicks, I think you have to give that true advantage to Conor. When it comes to grappling and wrestling, it's a totally different conversation. Khabib wins this outright. A lot of fight analysts are saying that people are sleeping or underestimating Conor's grappling ability, and that might be a fair assessment, seeing that he has had a hard time with people have had a hard time keeping him down, and he's also a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. However, that's what makes this fight very intriguing, because everyone suspects that Conor hasn't really fought an elite wrestler on a full fight camp, and Khabib is the best wrestler. So that is very big in this fight. People are saying that, oh, that's definitely what Conor's kryptonite is. That's definitely what's going to beat Conor. So here we have it. We have the best wrestler in his weight class that can, on a full fight camp. Chad Mendes didn't have a full fight camp, so a lot of people like to use that as an excuse. But here it is. There is a full fight camp. It's a big 155 guy who is a true wrestler, who has an opportunity to stop Conor. And we can see if Conor is able to use his ability and style, and if he's that elite of a fighter to go against what is perceived to be his kryptonite, and see if he can pull out a win. But when it comes to wrestling, Khabib is just the absolute best. He is an elite wrestler. He comes out of AKA the same gym as Cain Velasquez and Daniel Cormier. And these guys, when you watch them, they do a lot of the same things. They wrestle, they can maul guys, they can pick them up and slam them at any time. Guys have hard time staying or getting back to their feet with these guys. And they just really dictate when it comes to wrestling. They might not always be the best jiu-jitsu guys or submission artists, but when it comes to ground and pound and just all-out wrestling, AKA has the top camp. And Khabib is the reason why, I mean, in all his fights where he has used his wrestling to his advantage, for the most part, he has kept guys down and has done whatever he wanted to them on the mat, even taking time to talk to certain guys and tell them that they should quit before he hurts them even worse. So it's just that Russian background, that his father being his elite coach, and you know, the stories of him and the images of him wrestling at Baby Cub Bear. I mean, these things just really come into factor, and it makes for what we perceive to be a long day for Conor when it comes to the grappling standpoint.
Maybe decision. Maybe I'm gonna finish him, you know. But all the time when he tired, he give up. This is all the time. Like before fights, he talk like, I'm ready for this, I'm ready for this. When he fight with Diaz, when he fight with Mayweather, like. But when he tired, he give up all the time.
Conditioning. Khabib. Gotta give it to Khabib. Khabib wants to, and he can wrestle and strike and fight the entire fight for 5 rounds. It's been proven that he can stay there and can do that. He'll, of course, get tired 4th and 5th round, but it won't be on the same level as Conor, who has shown that by the end of the 3rd round to the start of the 4th round, he's just not the same fighter. He backpedals. He's a guy that always comes forward. So once he starts backpedaling, you know something's different. You even saw this in the Floyd Mayweather fight. The entire, I think it was 8 rounds to 9 rounds, he was coming forward. And then as soon as he got tired, he was running. He turned around, he spin. And Mayweather, I don't think he was strong enough to really knock Conor down. I think it was just Conor was just so gassed that he was like taking the punches and he couldn't breathe, and it was just too overwhelming. And Floyd knew that. Floyd knew that he was gonna gas himself, and this is what happened. And then Conor said itself, I gas at these times, I need to fix the problem. Did he fix the problem? I mean, he's had a lot of time to do it, but some things, I mean, we'll see. We have no idea, but I from what we know, Khabib definitely has the advantage when it comes to cardio and conditioning. The chin of both of these fighters is very intriguing, as well as there's suspicions that because of the Michael Johnson fight, Khabib might not have a great chin. I think this is overrated and overhyped because he took a big punch. He looked like he could have been hurt, but he fought through it, and there's no debate on if he mauled and just really definitively beat Michael Johnson in that fight. Khabib has also shown that he can just take punches in other fights. I mean, he got hit a lot in the Alaquinta fight, but it didn't seem to really hurt him. He was just there, and he fought back, and he pretty much dominates his fight. So I think it's overhyped, and I don't think we can really give that a good look. I mean, yeah, he's fighting Conor, so this is going to be a different type of punch maybe that he's ever felt, but we don't know. So as of now, I'll say I don't believe that Khabib has a glass jaw. Same thing with Conor. Conor has shown that he can take punches, and he can take a lot of punches. Most of the time when Conor gets defeated or knocked down or whatever the case may be, it's not from a big punch or some type of punch. It's usually because of his cardio and him gassing. So this is another aspect that'll be interesting, but I think that's what makes this fight a little bit more intriguing, because both of these guys will probably look to meet in the center of the ring, and you don't see a flash knockout. It'll probably just be a bit of banging at first if they do both decide to stand, and we'll see where it goes from there. So, who does East know to win this fight? I must say, this is a very unpredictable fight. This fight is almost nearly impossible to call based on what we know. But I will say that I do know the 2 ways that this fight can go. The first is the fight can go to Conor within the first 2 to 3 rounds. I believe if the fight goes 2 to 3 rounds, it'll be because Khabib stood up, he let Conor get in his head, and he decided that he wanted to prove a point that he could strike with him, and that he's not scared to back down, that he could take a punch from him, and that he could fight any type of way that he wants to. And because of Khabib's pride, and because he probably is losing this mental warfare just from the standpoint that Conor just always dictates the mental warfare, you could say that Khabib will go in, he'll be a little wild with his punches, and Conor will catch him with some type of strike, probably a left hand like typical, and put him down, and that will be the win for Conor. The second way that the fight can go is that the fight can go 4 to 5 rounds. If the fight goes 4 to 5 rounds, I think that means it was in Khabib's favor. That means Khabib was able to get Conor down. You might even get 1 or 2 rounds where Conor was able to keep on his feet and strike Khabib, but then Khabib was very strong and strong-willed and composed and able to take the punches. Then Khabib will wrestle, grapple, take Conor down, and then do exactly what he said. He will maul him. He will beat him. He will try to submit him, but mostly he'll just be talking to him like he said he wanted to and punching him. I think if it's the 4th round, the thing to look for early stoppage or this stoppage in the 4th round is because Conor got tired, he's gassed. There's nothing he can do at this point, and either the referees will stop it or maybe Khabib sinks in some type of choke. If the fight goes to 4 or 5 rounds, I'm predicting that Khabib just wasn't able to finish the fight, but he's able to just really control it, which is enough to win, especially when you're the champion. And so even though he is fighting Conor McGregor, so maybe his belt doesn't mean as much to the judges, but yeah, that's the way I see it goes. Conor by knockout within the first 3 rounds, or Khabib by 4th round stoppage, or Khabib by decision. Those are my 3 predictions. So other things to look forward to on UFC 229. You have Tony Ferguson versus Pettis, which I talked about earlier. This fight will be very fun. It'll be very intriguing, and I think it'll be a very good fight. It's another stylistic matchup, and it's also important to the fight. But this fight is a great co-main event, and probably the second fight that I'm just really interested to see what happens in that fight. I think it'll be great. Both are technically former champions in the weight class as well, so really fun. Check out Karate Hottie as she fights Felice Herring for the women's. That's going to be also a very important fight. I think Felice has a chip on her shoulder, and Karate Hottie needs another win to kind of solidify herself to get back into the title contention. Derek Lewis will also be fighting on this fight card. I'm not so familiar with his opponent, but Derek Lewis typically is a fun guy. He likes to go in. He always has some funny and fun things to say post and pre-fight conference.
A small heart than he has. You know, what round they rise and find that say.
And he's a banger. He likes to fight. He'll definitely throw his hands. He's from Houston, Texas, big boy. So yeah, it'd be a fun fight to watch. Overall, this fight should just be really fun. It should be a very entertaining fight. Has a lot of anticipation. These guys do not like each other. This fight is personal for both of them. And I mean, it's going to be a barn burner. I hope it lives up to the expectations. So what do you guys think? How do you think this fight will end? What's your prediction? What's the most intriguing thing to you? As always, like, share, comment, and this is EastKnows. Hope you enjoy UFC 229.